call on Mr. Sundar Pichai. You are recognized for 5 minutes, sir.
Chairman Vickar, Ranking Member Cantwell, and distinguished members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. The internet has been a powerful force for good over the past 3 decades.
That's important to remember. Aside from the headlines and the scaremongering, the internet has liberated us and enabled us to do things that we couldn't have even dreamed of 30 and 40 years ago.
Has radically improved access to information, whether it's connecting Americans to jobs, getting critical updates to people in times of crisis, or helping a parent find answers to questions like, how can I get my baby to sleep through the night? At the same time, people everywhere can use their voices to share new perspectives, express themselves, and reach broader audiences than ever before.
And that, in a nutshell, is the internet. It's really important that he's educating not just the viewers of this congressional hearing, but Congress themselves. I'm sure a lot of them are not as technically astute as many of us watching this video, or even who follow Sundar, but it's important for them to understand that the internet has been the lifeblood of modern economics and our social life. So that's a really important statement to start off with.
Whether you're a barber in Mississippi or a home renovator in Indiana, you can share a video and build a global fan base and a successful business right from your living room.
I feel like his statement is more for the viewer of this hearing than Congress themselves. He's being very clever to actually incorporate specific examples. It almost feels unnecessary, the specific examples he's using of the barbers and the mother doing a search on how to get their baby to sleep. So it really makes me think that he is very political in how he's structured this opening statement. But it's much needed because these politicians need to understand the ramifications of changes to laws that will constrain any internet not internet service providers, but organizations that operate heavily within the internet space.
In this way, the internet has been one of the world's most important equalizers. Information can be shared and knowledge can flow from anyone to anywhere.
My favorite word, meritocracy.
The same low barriers to entry also make it possible for bad actors to cause harm. As a company whose mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful, Google is deeply conscious of both the opportunities and risks the internet creates. I'm proud that Google's information services like search, Gmail, Maps, and Photos provide thousands of dollars a year in value to the average American for free.
Now, I think that is a statement for the politicians to understand that there are ramifications on their back if they try to meddle too much with the operating of Google here and Facebook and all these other major companies within this space, because it's not just a matter of restraining some sexy posts on Facebook and making sure terrorists aren't able to search anything on Google. This is real world application of their technologies and understanding that it's entrenched in everything that we do.
We feel a deep responsibility to keep the people who use our products safe and secure, and have long invested in innovative tools to prevent abuse of our services. When it comes to privacy, we are committed to keeping your information safe, treating it responsibly, and putting you in control. We continue to make privacy improvements, like the changes I announced earlier this year to keep less data by default, and support the creation of comprehensive.
That's obviously the most contentious thing about Google and their partners is that they keep hold of so much information, and many people parallel it to the inception of Skynet. We're feeding the beast, and so it's really important that he's addressed that. And I didn't know that myself, that Google are restricting the amount of information that they're collecting from their operations. It'd be interesting to know what type of information they aren't collecting anymore, because obviously that personal data, it yeah, it it's a very touchy subject for many people, but also it gives them a very big advantage over any other organization and even governments. Um, the amount of data, and data is part of their value as well as a company.
Comprehensive federal privacy laws. We are equally committed to protecting the quality and integrity of information on our platforms and supporting our democracy in a nonpartisan way. As just
Non-partisan is very important. Go back to my favorite word, meritocracy. The idea that he's putting out is that he's making, by from their tools, they're able to distribute not just knowledge but power in in terms of utility, what they're able to give everyone equally, to be able to do whatever they want, whether it be through their business, through social elements of their life. But by emphasizing it's a non-partisan operation, he's showing that this, you know, the crumbs fall where they may fall, but it's not necessarily their doing, that they're trying to favor one side over the other. We see many times, depending on which papers, which media outlets you're reading, each side, left and right, throughout the world, always thinks they're being hard done by the likes of Google, by the likes of Facebook. And you find many times it's not necessarily that Google or Facebook are favoring one side or another, but as I said, it's where the crumbs may fall. People resonate with a certain utility or facility or news outlet or anything, and so it's not necessarily the platform's faults. And I think it's important that he's communicating this to the politicians, because a lot of politicians don't understand that. They simply don't have that knowledge that they are going to see just right wing political articles because that's what they search. They don't understand why people of a certain demographic just see one type of news, because that's what they generally gravitate towards. And the likes of Google, the likes of Facebook give them more of that. Obviously, there's a problem with the likes of it being an echo chamber and people just getting confirmation of whatever they already thought and not being challenged. But that's the nature of these platforms. They give you more of what you want.
one timely example, our information panels on Google and YouTube inform users about where to vote and how to register. We've also taken many steps to raise up high quality journalism, from sending 24 billion visits to news websites globally every month to our recent $1 billion investment in partnerships with news publishers.
He's been very smart to include one of, let's say, Google's biggest critics, and that's the journalist establishment. Because in one fell swoop, the likes of Google have rendered the old way of news dissemination as just obsolete, and journalists using what they have, and that's their reach within traditional media, have really been bashing the likes of Google. Um, saying that their practices are unfair, but I say that Google shouldn't really have to be propping up old media. It'd be like saying the TV stations would have to prop up old radio stations when the radio became almost obsolete because the likes of TV programming was just a much more enticing option for people to consume media.
Since our founding, we've been deeply committed to the freedom of expression. We also feel a responsibility to protect people who use our products from harmful content and to be transparent about how we do that. That's why we set and publicly disclose clear guidelines for our products and platforms, which we enforce impartially. We recognize that people come to our services with a broad spectrum of perspectives, and we are dedicated to building products that are helpful to users of all backgrounds and viewpoints. Let me be clear, we approach our work without political bias, full stop. To do otherwise would be contrary to both our business interests and our mission, which compels us to make information accessible to every type of person, no matter where they live or what they believe. Of course, our ability to provide access to a wide range of information is only possible because of existing legal frameworks like Section 230. The United States adopted Section 230 early in the Internet's history, and it has been foundational to US leadership in the tech sector. It protects the freedom to create and share content while supporting the ability of platforms and services of all sizes to responsibly address harmful content.
Of all sizes. It's very clever to elaborate that it's not just the likes of Google and Facebook that favor the Section 230 and the nature of how the current legal framework allows internet companies to do what they do and operate pretty freely. But he's emphasizing that there's a consequence not just to them, but to the smaller folk, to the smaller SaaS companies, the tech startups, people creating things with their buddies that ends up being the next Google, the next Facebook. So that's really good that he's incorporated that into his argument, that it's not just the big dogs that need this freedom or this element of freedom. It is also the smaller folk that are concerned too.
We appreciate that this committee has put great thought into how platforms should address content. We look forward to having these conversations. As you think about how to shape policy in this important area, I would urge the committee to be very thoughtful about any changes to Section 230 and to be very aware of the consequences those changes.
Awareness is key. Again, I'll go back to the fact that these are old Congress people. A lot of them don't understand the ramifications of any change in technology law, in internet law, in the internet itself. I would argue that they probably don't use the internet to its fullest extent compared to the average person. So the question is, are they really the right people to be shaping what constrains the actors within the internet?
Might have on businesses and customers. At the end of the day, we all share the same goal: free access to information for everyone and responsible protections for people and their data.